There are couples God Himself connected, couples whose love began with prophecy, confirmation, peace, and divine alignment. Yet today, that same marriage has turned into a battlefield. Two people who were divinely joined, now emotionally torn apart. When love turns to war, there is always a way to win back your spouse. Please follow me kindly. This channel is our channel, a place of healing, restoration, and hope. Together, let's heal the brokenhearted. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share this video. Your engagement helps us reach more homes, touch more lives, and restore more marriages. You see, it is possible for God to bring two people together, and yet those two people remain ignorant of how marriage truly works. Because two souls cannot become one without contention, without friction, without misunderstandings. In marriage, you disagree to agree. You contend to continue. You confront to connect. Many divorces happen today, simply because couples don't understand that contention can help them grow stronger in marriage. Confrontation can help them reconnect deeply, and disagreement can help them learn to agree as one. You are two different soils coming together to become one soul, and that journey requires patience, maturity, and understanding. The strength of your marriage is not built on perfect days, but on how well you manage disagreements, contentions, and confrontations. These are not signs of a failing marriage. They are opportunities for growth, harmony, and deeper love. Contention is not a sign that the marriage is wrong. It is a process God uses to remove selfishness, break pride, train patience, and shape character. Genesis 2 verse 24 says, "And the two shall become one flesh." But becoming one is not automatic. It is a journey, not an instant miracle. Many of the fathers you admire today, many of the mothers you honor today, they may never tell you about their heat period, but they had it hot too. They argued. They cried. Yes, some cried in silence, wiping tears no one ever saw. They misunderstood each other. They felt frustrated. They nearly quit. But they chose to stay, grow, forgive, and fight for what God joined together. But what preserved them was not emotions, but biblical maturity. Their trials were different. Their tests were different. But their foundation was strong. One major storm that destroys many marriages is when the wife tries to lord over the husband and the man refuses, not because he hates her, but because the word husband means lord, head, leader, covering. 1 Peter 3 verse 6 says, Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord. This is not slavery. This is order. And this is where many marriages break. The man is trying to lead, but the woman, out of pain, impatience, frustration, or lack of training, begins to challenge his authority. Some men are genuinely trying. They promise their wife a better future. They keep telling her, "Baby, give me time. I will rise."
Things will change, but many women were not trained to endure process. They want the harvest without the season of planting. Ecclesiastes 3:1 says, "To everything there is a season." But when a woman is not trained in patience, she interprets process as failure. She interprets delay as disappointment. She interprets growth as stagnation. Let me tell you a secret many fathers won't say. They subdued their wives with kindness, not shouting, not fighting, not ego, but gentleness, sweet words, soft responses, and constant forgiveness. Proverbs 15:1 says, "A soft answer turns away wrath." Even when their wives were angry, even when their wives spoke harshly, even when emotions were high, a wise man calms a storm, he doesn't fuel it. That is why many fathers kept their homes. They understood that a man who wins his wife emotionally rules his home peacefully. One silent war in marriage is this: when a woman wants to marry only her husband and reject his family. She forgets that marriage is not isolation. It is integration. Yes, boundaries must exist. Yes, and laws must not interfere. But wisdom teaches balance, not war. Ruth honored Naomi, and her home prospered. Ruth 1:16. Many modern women fight battles they should settle with wisdom. The secret fathers understood that younger generation needs to learn from is that you don't control a woman by force. You win her by understanding. You don't dominate her by shouting. You lead her by example. You don't subdue her by fear. You subdue her by love, patience, and intentional care. Many mothers also kept their homes because they honored their husbands. Not foolishly, not blindly, but biblically. Ephesians 5:33 says, "Let the wife see that she respects her husband. Respect is a seed, and respect produces respect. A woman who honors her husband receives honor in return." Maybe not instantly, but eventually Hannah prayed, and her home was preserved. 1 Samuel 1:10-18. Abigail prayed, acted with wisdom, and saved her household. 1 Samuel 25. But many modern wives have replaced prayer with social media, replaced patience with comparison, replaced submission with pride. Many are loud but empty, bold but prayerless, quick to fight but slow to pray. A praying woman wins her husband's heart. A prayerless woman loses battles she should win on her knees. In the old days, mothers followed behind their husbands, not as inferiors, but as pillars. But today, many wives want to lead in front, talk over their husband, instruct him, challenge him, and compete with him. What humility builds, pride destroys. Beloved, please listen to this truth. Every marriage will reach a moment where love alone is not enough. Love started the journey, but wisdom sustains it. Understanding protects it. Maturity strengthens it. Proverbs 24:3 says, "Through wisdom a house is built, and by understanding it is established." When love turns to war, God is not punishing you. He is testing the foundation. Some storms don't come to destroy. They come to reveal what needs healing. God allows storm in marriage for 3 reasons. "Behold, I was shapen in iniquity, and in sin did my mother conceive me." Psalm 51:5. 1. To expose hidden weaknesses. Sometimes you don't know the cracks in the house until the rain falls. 2. To purify character. Marriage is a mirror. It exposes selfishness, pride, impatience, and childhood wounds. 3. To deepen unity. 2 cannot become truly one until they pass through something together. James 1-3 says, "The testing of your faith produces patience." Marriage is no different. One of the fastest ways a marriage turns into war is when a man feels disrespected. A man can tolerate tears. He can tolerate silence. He can even tolerate pain. But he cannot tolerate dishonor. A man's heart shuts down when he hears, "You are not a man. You have failed. You are useless. My friend's husband is better." These words break the spirit of a man. Proverbs 18:14 says, "The spirit of a man will sustain him, but a wounded spirit who can bear? A man's spirit is his engine." Once you break it, the marriage enters war. The same way a man needs respect, a woman needs love, attention, and assurance. The moment a woman feels ignored, the moment she feels abandoned, the moment she feels emotionally neglected, her heart begins to fight for survival. Ephesians 5:25 says, "Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church." Christ didn't shout at the church. Christ didn't abandon the church. Christ didn't insult the church. He loved her even when she was wrong. Many women enter war mode because they feel unloved. The same way a man needs respect, a woman needs love, attention, and assurance. The moment a woman feels ignored, the moment she feels abandoned, the moment she feels emotionally neglected, her heart begins to fight for survival. Ephesians 5:25 says, "Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church." Christ didn't shout at the church. Christ didn't abandon the church. Christ didn't insult the church. He loved her even when she was wrong. Many women enter war mode because they feel unloved. Let me reveal a secret. Many of the fathers who kept their homes did not keep it by force. They kept it with sacrifice. They were not perfect men, but they were patient men. They endured moods. They endured harsh words. They endured misunderstandings, not because they were weak, but because they saw marriage as a battlefield worth fighting for. Colossians 3:19 says, "Husbands, love your wives, and do not be harsh with them." Real men build, they don't break. Our mothers also had their secret weapons. They prayed. They waited. They forgave. They endured. Some of them cried through the night, yet cooked with love in the morning. Some were misunderstood, but they stayed faithful to God and their home. Psalm 127:1 says, "Except the Lord build the house, they labor in vain that build it." Mothers understood that a marriage without God is a marriage without safety. Wickedness and stubbornness cannot build a good home. Today's generation is different. Couples fight more than they pray. They react more than they understand. They speak more than they listen. They complain more than they intercede. A home without prayer is a home open to attack. Matthew 26:41 says, "Watch and pray lest you enter into temptation." Many modern couples fall into temptation, not because they don't love each other, but because they stopped watching and praying. Let me share with you some basic signs you must watch for in your marriage, so that it does not drift into war. Before a marriage turns into a battlefield, it always gives signs: constant arguments, silent treatment, lack of intimacy, withdrawal from each other, harsh criticism, continuous fault-finding, emotional distance, weak or absent prayer life, comparing your spouse to others, pride and unwillingness to apologize. When these things start entering a marriage, war begins silently long before anyone notices. May God give you the wisdom to address these signs early, and the grace to protect your home from unnecessary battles. Love is not lost. It is simply buried under wounds. It can be restored. Genesis 2:22 says, "And the Lord God made a woman, and brought her to the man." This means God formed the woman. God prepared the man. God presented the union. Marriage is His design, so marriage must be run by His principles. When couples remove God, marriage becomes a war zone. Satan hates marriage because marriage reflects God's image. Two becoming one, that is unity. Unity is powerful. Unity is unstoppable. Ecclesiastes 4:12 says, "Two are better than one, and a threefold cord is not easily broken." A praying husband plus a praying wife plus God equals a fortress hell cannot penetrate. That is why the devil fights marriages. He attacks through misunderstanding. He attacks through pride. He attacks through impatience. He attacks through lust. He attacks through comparison. He attacks through spiritual dryness, not because you are weak, but because your marriage carries a destiny. Beloved, please listen. People think marriages collapse because of money, in-laws, attitude, cheating, anger, but these are only symptoms. The real collapse begins in the spirit, the day the couple becomes prayerless. 1 Peter 5-8 says, "Be vigilant. Your adversary, the devil, walks about seeking whom he may devour." When couples stop praying, they become spiritually edible. Let me speak with truth. This generation wants luxury without process, wants marriage without dying to self, wants partnership without sacrifice, wants submission without humility, wants leadership without responsibility. And worst of all, this generation is prayerless. They blame everything on trauma, zodiac signs, emotional damage. I'm not ready. That's just how I am. But they forget Jesus said, men ought always to pray and not faint, Luke 18:1. A marriage that doesn't kneel will eventually fall. My beloved viewers, marriage is not for the proud, not for the impatient, not for the prayerless. Marriage is a journey of two becoming one, through fire, through storms, through forgiveness, and through maturity. If your love has turned to war, peace can return again. If your home is shaking, God can stabilize it. If your spouse is drifting, your humility, your wisdom, your kindness, and your prayer can bring them back. My beloved, place your hand on your chest as I declare this. Every war in your marriage receives peace. Every wound receives healing. Every bitterness dissolves. Every pride breaks. Every disconnection is restored. Every spiritual attack is reversed. Your marriage will not die. Your love will not fade. The God who joined you together will keep you together. Prepare your heart for part 2. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Share your thoughts below. Your story may help someone else. God bless you.